over here eating my stuffed pepper. You two yell at each other like Chris and I just yelled at each other.
Stuffed
Jim,
pepper, that's quite healthy for you, isn't it?
Yeah, but what's it stuffed with? Chocolate.
Oh, good point. Fried chicken.
love that chicken from Popeyes.
How are you, Nate? Everyone all right?
Do you guys have Popeyes chicken over there?
Yeah, they just started playing that advert on TV. It's driving me insane. I can't get it out of my head.
Love that chicken for Popeyes.
It's annoying.
We only export the best things from the United States to you guys.
They had to change the recipe of the stuff, though, because you've got too many of those E numbers and all that crap in, so they've had to change the recipe, apparently.
What?
Yeah, the recipe of the chicken's changed, yeah. Same with KFC as well. The recipe's different here, I think.
Why?
Because you've got a load of crap that's illegal over here.
Oh, that sounds right.
That sounds about right, yeah.
That Gatorade as well, it's different over here from in the US. I think you told me that, no?
Probably.
Yeah, I think you did.
Is your Red Bull the same? Red Bull gives you wings.
Red Bull's European, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I think it's Swiss, right? Or yeah, Austria, yeah.
Yeah.
Although I think it's made all over the world now. It's like its production isn't isolated to there. I think it's made all over the place now.
Yeah.
Like there's some factories in like Japan and the US, and I think there's some in Switzerland and Austria. I say factories, like, yeah, whatever. So here we are. This is what we're doing with our lives now.
$1 million.
$1 million.
Dollars.
$1 million. I like how Jim and I went straight to that. That was nice. I don't have to explain that. Have you seen that movie, Chris?
I have indeed. Yeah.
Austin Powers.
Yeah.
So what do we think?
It's a lot of
Austin
money, isn't
Powers? I don't know. It's kind of a dumb movie. Oh.
$1 million.
Are we being serious now?
Boatload of money. Shitload of money.
Well, so what's first prize going to be then, do you reckon? About 200,000?
It's got to be 200, right? Or two. I was trying to work out yesterday, if you started at 200 and then had 100 for second and 50s for the semis, and I tried to work it back.
Well, it's basically the total pot is 3 times what it has been for the maximum. So you would think that everything just goes up 3 times. So
I think it's over.
Instead of 60,000, you're up at 180,000.
And it was more than that, right? It was 300,000 is the purse for all these events, right? Was it
325 was the purse for the World Championships, I think it was, and it was 600. It was 60,000 for first. So okay. It's a little bit more than 3 times. So yeah, 200,000 be about right, I guess.
Yeah, 200. Yeah. 200 or 250, but I
really hope they start paying a little bit deeper, a little bit thicker, and a little bit deeper.
Everybody who goes is getting paid. Everybody who qualifies is getting paid. Apparently, I don't know what that looks like.
So $2,000 covering your trip.
Yeah, maybe $2,000 or something for qualifying, which is good.
Yeah, but if you do that, your 256,000 of your pot is gone straight away.
Yeah. This is what I mean. It's difficult. So maybe it'll be 1,000, or maybe it'll be 500.
Well, it's 128, right? So 32 are going to be the lowest. So it's only going to be 64,000 out the door. Before.
Yeah, okay, but then everyone's getting more than 2,000. It gets more than that. So you eat up your prize pot pretty quickly.
Yeah,
I think if they're paying everybody, then you're talking probably about 500.
I think 1,000 to 1,000 to 1,500 for the last 32, and then the last place, and then going into the next 32, which would be the next elimination down to the final 64. I mean, 1,000 and 1,500 seems right for that.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, and then you're looking at 32 times 1,500. And then add.
Yeah, well, we'll have to wait and see, but it's good. Everyone's getting paid something. There's no registration fee, so it's certainly. A chunk of everybody's travel costs will be paid. So, the guys that are having to travel from a far distance, I think there'll be a lot of Filipinos and stuff like that there in that tournament. They'll get invitations. Obviously, a lot of local players as well get an invitation. The first one.
Do you think?
I think so. Yeah.
There's no freaking way that the Saudis are giving this much money and they're not getting minimum 16 players in this field. No freaking
In a
way.
World Championship?
No freaking way.
I don't think they'll have.
Let's put it this way, Chris. If the Saudi kingdom comes to you and says, "Hey, I want to add $1 million. I want to have $1 million for this payout for the next 3 years," Matchroom's going to say, "What? That's awesome. Let's do it." Right? And then they say, "We want half of the field our players." What do you think Matchroom's going to say?
That's a different conversation. We already know what the qualifying criteria is.
Yeah, but there's only 100 players that are qualified, and then there's 28 players that are invitations or
that are WPA spots for now.
Yeah, okay, but the WPA are in the same conversation as Matchroom are with the Saudis. They're all in the same conversation.
Yeah.
Put it this way: if they have a qualifying event, I bet you that they have a big qualifying event in Saudi Arabia before it, and it'll just be filled with local players. So it's going to be local players that get the spots.
Maybe.
I mean, who's going to go to Saudi Arabia to try and qualify from Europe or from,
No, it depends what the field. It depends what the field's like, doesn't it?
We'll see. But, you'll be there, will you, Chris?
No, I'm not going. No, I don't think I'm going.
No,
I've already got some commitments that I don't think I can get out of.
And that's another thing. There's going to out of the 100 players there's going to be quite a few players that like Chris that say no. And if you're not on the Matchroom contract, so 128 players on the Matchroom contract, if 29 players say I'm not going, then that's another wildcard spot.
Yeah. I'm going to try. I'm going to I'll try and move things about, but I've already made commitments to other things. So, but if I'm not playing for a living, obviously, for the other guys that are playing for a living, it doesn't matter what's in the way of that. If you've got there's probably 18 to 20 guys who realistically can make the quarters, maybe realistically make the semis. So, for a lot of guys, this is drop everything and go, because it's life-changing money for one tournament. 1 week's work, life-changing money. It's massive.
Yeah.
It's just enormous. And, they're doing the snooker tournament there, not at the same time, but they've got the Saudi Snooker Masters now as well, which is going to be the fourth. Well, the fourth in the triple crown.
Yeah, there's going to be $2 million in prize money for that one.
But they've done a great thing there, because they are getting all 128 players to go.
Yeah.
They're getting all 128. So that's massive for the tour. Because I think the snooker is maybe, if you look 4 or 5 years down the line, snooker might be at risk of collapse in a certain way. Mm-hmm. So, you've got to be in the top 35 players in the world to make any sort of living. And outside of that, you're really not making a good living, or certainly not anything commensurate with being one of the top sports people in the world, or one of the top people in your sport. So it's great. It's a great thing for the snooker. And I guess we're going to get another pool ranking event out there as well. We won't just have the one, I wouldn't think.
I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if there's more getting done there.
Put half of them there.
We'll see. Well, I mean, I don't know if you necessarily need to be doing that, if you need to do that many, but why have I got a Jacoby dude on top of my head?
Because normally the chat goes right there. How's that?
Have you got the chat switched off? Why is nobody I expected the comment section to explode here as soon as we started talking about Saudi Arabia. Does nobody want to come in here and talk about sports washing and shit like that, no?
Well, let's talk about it ourselves then, Jim. Why is it that you will support a government that I don't know. I tried. Hi, Brittany. I'll see you tomorrow, probably.
I've seen some stuff on Facebook. People have already I've turned into.
Well, okay, yeah. So let's go at this the real way. All right, I'm going to argue for the sports washing side of things, that this is a bad thing, and you two are going to tell me how stupid I am. All right, just for the sake of having a debate. Keep in mind that I do not necessarily hold all of these views, but I'm going to act like I do for this discussion because I think it's a valuable discussion to have, right? Saudi Arabia has done a lot of effed up stuff in the past. They have killed journalists. They have sent many journalists to jail, innocent people to jail, blah 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 blah. They do a lot of messed up stuff. The idea of sports washing, which is what they are being accused of for the last, I don't know, several years, is they are throwing crazy amounts of money into different aspects, into different sports, because universally people love sports. They were famous for giving Cristiano Ronaldo, was it $1 billion? Close to $1 billion?
It might as well be. It might as well.
All the money that a small country would ever need, basically.
Yeah. I think they gave Cristiano Ronaldo about $1 billion, something like that, to go play for like 3 years or something stupid like that. They gave John Rahm $500 million to play in the Saudi tour, the golf tour, for 3 years. I mean, they basically built the Live Tour off of Saudi money. I know that they've put a bunch of money into they put a ton of money into football. They put a ton of money into golf, and now they seem to be putting at least some money into pool. All right. The idea is everybody universally loves sports, right? So if you can look at all of these different aspects that they're putting money into and say, well, this is all coming from Saudi Arabia. The idea with that is you're going to start looking at Saudi Arabia in a better light because they're putting all this money into the sports industries that we all love and we all like to support. In so facto, washing out all of the bad things that they've ever done with the idea that we love sports. My cat is not buying this argument, and she's trying to eat my cable to get me to shut up. I guess if anybody who's never watched First Take or some sort of sports show along the way, you've never heard what sports washing is. That's essentially the idea of what sports washing is, and why people are saying we should not be taking anything Saudi Arabia does. We should not be taking any of their money because they're just doing it because they don't want us to realize the psycho killer murderer people that they truly are. And that's basically the argument. Jim, tell me why that's stupid. And before you do, Jim.
Yes. Oh, I haven't seen that for a long time.
Jim loves Luna's butthole. This is why you got to watch it on YouTube or on Facebook. You get to see Luna's spoiling of the podcast.
No, Nate, it's you that spoils the podcast. Right. Well, my opinion on it is that I don't put all of it into one box. If you're unable to separate one from the other, then that's, in my opinion, that just doesn't make any sense. One is sport, the other one is a human rights question. People talk about it. It's not going to change anything by turning around and saying we're not going to let them do any sports stuff. If you are of the opinion that everything is okay now because of it, then you're an idiot. One is not good, the other one is good. They don't cancel each other out. They're not, for me, it's not the same thing. It's two completely separate things, and one doesn't cancel the other out. And I really don't have an issue with what they're doing with sport. If they want to throw their money into sport, let them throw their money into sport. I mean, why not? It benefits our sports stars. It benefits the pool players. They're going over there. We're finally seeing them making a bit of money. They've got over there the chance to make what Chris said himself, life-changing money. As long as it's all done above board and it's legitimate money and it's all done the right way, and I don't see it as being connected to any human rights issues, me personally. So I don't think one cancels the other out and one is not, shouldn't be, shouldn't be knocked back or refused because of something else that's happened. I don't see that there's a connection there. But that's just my opinion. The World Cup went over there a couple of years ago. It was a massive success. But nobody is forgetting about, the people that died building the stadiums and all that kind of stuff. Apparently, the fans that went over there, they didn't have any issue with the rules. There's certain social rules there that are different from Western Europe or the USA. Nobody had an issue with it while they were over there. As far as I didn't hear of, there's the talk about women not being given equality or anything close to equality. It wasn't really an issue during the World Cup. I don't see it as being it's a sporting event, and
there was something big that happened around Budweiser. Do you remember what that was?
They didn't turn up with their beer or something like that at one of the stadiums or something like that, or they were refused in with their beer or something.
And so like they pulled all the sponsorship from it or something like that.
They pulled all the sponsor, yeah. But
that's what it was. Yeah, you're right. They were going to allow alcohol sales at it, and then I think they pulled all alcohol sales.
Yeah.
And so Budweiser pulled all of their sponsors. Yeah, I think that sounds something right. But that was one of the. I mean, I only want to point that out to say that there was some things that happened. That being one of them. I mean, not that. I mean, is it a huge deal that you can't drink it? Well, I think a lot of people that went over there. Yeah. Could you imagine if the Mosconi Cup at the last second said no alcohol?
Yeah.
Jim,
well, look, I mean, it's a very sensitive subject, and I fully understand that some people have got some strong views on it. I just have my pool hat on for this, and not my political, human rights, whatever you want to call it, hat on for this. And
all right, Chris, what
as a pool fan, great, give them the million, brilliant.
Yeah,
Chris, what do you think?
I'm fully with what Jim says. There's but loads of people have been commenting on it since just the last 24 hours. There's been loads of comments on Facebook about it. Loads of people saying some sensible things, some other people saying some less sensible things about it all. It's just a motive, isn't it? Talking about human rights and some of the deeper subjects. None of us are experts on that. We are just pool people, and we're not the brightest bunch. So we should not be the people to ask about complicated issues.
Speak for yourself. I resemble that remark.
You resemble it, yeah.
More than many, yeah.
But yeah, it's not. It's if some of the players decide that they don't want to go because they feel so strongly about it, good on them. I'm sure they'll be well supported, and there'll be no Matchroom won't hold any hard feelings or anything like that. But for the most part, if you take where we were 5 years ago, yeah, I mean, just say exactly 5 years ago, before the Matchroom US Open happened in 2019, to where we are 5 years later, considering we lost 18 or 24 months to COVID. So call it 3 full years of Matchroom operating in the open pool kind of scene. Where we are today is just insane. It is just insane to think where we are.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think that there's been any crazy big Saudi. I don't even know the proper term for it. We'll just say shenanigans that happened in Europe. I mean, Jamal Khashoggi was a Saudi journalist that was murdered on
Turkish. He was in Turkey, right? Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I guess was that Turkey?
That was in the Turkish embassy in Turkey, I think.
Yeah.
Or was that the Saudi embassy in Turkey? One way or the other, whatever it was.
He was going, I believe, to get like a marriage certificate or something like that, and yeah. Anyways, I mean that is a big one, and that's where a lot of this sports washing really started to take hold. I believe the discussion. I mean, obviously, the human rights abuses that have happened in Saudi Arabia. I mean, again, none of us are experts, but there's been a laundry list. I mean, it's not like it's like 1 or 2 items. I mean, there's plenty.
For sure, but I think especially us being from the UK and from the US, I don't think we can sit on a pedestal and look down on people and say that they have acted in a way that, our countries are responsible for.
We've done some crazy shit too.
Crazy shit, right? So it's certainly, it's not for any country to tell another nation how to conduct themselves within their own borders. There are things that should be universal across the world, human rights wise. We can't do anything about that. We can't, on one hand, as a society, take Saudi investment for public infrastructure and for our, throughout our entire financial services systems. And, they own so much property across both US and the UK. We can't take all of that investment and not say anything. And then Saudi hold a few boxing matches in the pool tournament. Oh shit, it's terrible.
Well,
you've got to have a bit of balance. It's just bollocks.
Yeah, I don't think the majority of people actually realize how much Saudi money is already in their countries, and is already flying around, is already supporting their economy, is already supporting their businesses. They don't realize that because they don't actually see it physically happening, and then something comes up on Facebook and it's going to be on TV, and then all of a sudden it's a big deal.
It's like a rally. It's like a rallying thing right there.
If you were to do just a little bit of investigation and go and look at, on your own front door, how much Saudi money is in your own area and in your own economy, and then be asked the question, do you want all that gone? Do you want all that be taken away? Do you want,
It's exactly right.
It swings and roundabouts, and at the end of the day, you can have your views on it, and I respect anyone's views, but I don't see. Like I said, I don't see how it intermingles, and it should. I got no problem with them going to Saudi and having a pool tournament there, and why not? What good does it do? Yeah. What good would? I mean, this is not Matchroom. This is not Matchroom saying they support what happens in Saudi Arabia.
Well, let me answer that question.
This is not them saying we're okay with what happens in Saudi Arabia. It's not the pool players saying we're okay with what happens in Saudi Arabia. It's a pool tournament that's going to happen in Saudi Arabia.
I do have an answer for that. So let me. Basically, the premise of that is, why shouldn't we take this money, right? I look at this as two answers. That has two real answers to it. Obviously, it's more than that, but I'm gonna boil it down to that. Saudi Arabia is throwing stupid money into all aspects of sports. Why? So in my mind, there's two real reasons why. They're either looking to increase. They're either trying to increase their viewing in the world because they know that their past is checkered, and they want to try to get rid of that. Obviously, that's great. They're going forward with a new foot. They're going to try to not be the way that they were before, and they're trying to basically restart with their image of the world by whitewashing it with sports money. Great. If that's the case, take the money, no problem at all. Let's do this. If they're doing this to try to cover up more stuff that they're going to do in the future, that's fucked up. And they're trying to basically say, all right, well, we know we're going to do this in the future. Yeah, this person, they got their days are counted. This person, let's go lock up another, 50 more female protesters who want to just drive around in their country and not have to be arrested for it. And they're doing all of this basically to help cover up the fucked up stuff that they're doing in their country. I got a bigger problem with that, and I think that that's a real discussion that we can have as to whether or not we should be taking this on, because whether or not we can separate it, like you said, Jim, whether or not we can separate it, there's a lot of people who cannot separate it. So the money,
but there's a lot of people that cannot separate it. But let's just say that the whole idea of this, of everything they're doing in sport, is to try and mask all the horrible shit that they've done
in the past, and they're trying to change going
in the past. Let's say they're trying to do that. If we as a Western society allow that to happen, then we're the idiots. Are you really going to turn around and say, are you really stupid enough to forget everything that's happened because of a couple of $1 billion that have been put into sport?
And then how long is it long enough? Like, should we still be mad at Germany? Should we still be mad at Japan? Should we still be mad at the Mongolians? Like, at what time is enough time enough, right?
Yeah. Putting money into sport is not going to make people forget all the other stuff that's happened. It's just not going to happen. So, I mean...
It will. I mean, honestly, Jim, you know good and damn well it will. Not for everyone, but for enough people it will, because enough people don't care. They don't look at the last 10 years. They look about where they're going to get their next meal from. They're looking like where they're going to get their next score from. And if they have the opportunity to go to Saudi Arabia and they have the ability to make themselves $50, going to Saudi Arabia, taking last place in a World Pool Championship, they're not going to give a crap what happened. But I know what you're saying. But I mean, they're
not going to give a crap what happened because they're just there to play pool. But
and want the opportunity.
The world, in a political standpoint, is still going to care. This money is not going to matter politically. That it's not just going to go away
for a duration of time.
Yeah,
for a duration of time.
And to be honest, if this is them apologizing and saying no, we're not going to do any of this shit anymore, then fine. As long as you don't do it anymore.
Well, that's exactly it, right? I mean, that's those are the two options that I see.
That's not going to happen anyway, because that's the problem with, or the problem. That is what different beliefs, different cultures, different religions. When you believe that what you do is the correct thing to do, and other people say that what they do is the correct thing to do. So you're not, and a lot of the stuff that you do is not. You're not actually aware, or you're not willing to accept that what you're doing is wrong because it's your belief that what you're doing is correct.
And generally speaking,
we say that what they're doing is wrong, but they say no, this is the way we live, and we should be allowed to live like this.
And when we're having this discussion, going off of what you said, almost everybody that, I would venture to say everybody that's on this podcast, and probably the vast majority of people who are watching this, our viewpoints of what's right and wrong is decided by the book called the Bible, right? Most people are Christian, even in their morals, or at least in their society, right? And the U.S. was built off of a society based off of the Bible, right? All of our morals, yeses and wrongs, are decided based off of that.
Not mine.
I lost all that shit a long time ago.
Stop it. Your society at a fundamental level was based off, their rights and wrongs were based off of that.
My morals about what right or wrong were drilled into me by my parents and by the social structure around me, not by a book.
Well, sure, but your society as a whole is based off of that. And if you don't think that that's true, you can go to the Middle East and you can see that the difference of a book can completely change the morals of a culture. At the fundamental basic building blocks of a society, of a culture, is usually built off of some book that says what's right is right, right? And it just goes to what you're saying, Jim.
That's religion you're talking about.
Well, you tell me one culture that's been built in the history of forever that wasn't based off of.
But that's what I just said. And every religion believes that what they do is the correct way to do it.
And I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, our viewpoint of Saudi Arabia is coming from predominantly a Christian moral value view set. That's not the case there.
Yeah, but there's some things that are just universally wrong, right?
So at this point in time in culture, sure, but 100 years ago, no.
So it's just a pool.
We were still hanging people for simple crimes not so long ago. I mean,
some people say we still should be.
Some people say we still should be. I mean, there's certain crimes I wouldn't mind if they did.
And there's plenty of cultures around the world that still look at women as being nothing more than obedient and servants, right? And anybody in the Western world would be like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Of course they're equals. Of course they deserve to be, treated with respect. But Saudi Arabia has only gotten to that point. Shut up, Jim.
It'll be different. It'll be different if
in Saudi Arabia, that's only got to that point in the last few years. And if you look at places like Iraq,
it's still not the same though. It's still not the same.
No, it's not. It's getting better, but still, I mean, these universal truths that we're talking about, they're just not universal truths. They're so embedded in our cultures that we think that they should be universal truths, but there's a huge chunk of the world where that's just straight not the case.
Sure, but yeah, definitely. But this is
and usually it's based around some sort of religion that impacts that region. If you look at the Middle East, there aren't a lot of countries where women aren't looked at as being equals.
Yeah, it'll be difficult if we go there and you see something that you don't like. That's when maybe things will change for individuals. I don't know what I don't know how I'd feel. Well, I do. I do know how I'd feel if I saw something like that. But you gotta. What are you gonna do? Well, you might go there, you might see something, you might decide you're never going back again. But
Well, and now I we've obviously had a pretty decent discussion on this. I actually enjoyed this discussion quite a bit, but I started this at the beginning saying that I was going to play devil's advocate. And by devil's advocate, I meant I wasn't going to necessarily say what I actually believe. This is what I actually believe out of the situation. There have been numerous, hundreds, thousands of studies on the effects of sports amongst communities. One of the favorite ones I saw was during COVID in Israel. They had when people would get COVID, they would be isolated into hotels. The hotels weren't being used for anything else. So what they were doing was anybody with COVID, they were pulling out of their household to try to stop the spread amongst families, and they were put into these hotels. They were not segregated. There was Israelites, there was Palestinians. They were all in basically the same. And I know this seems like a far cry from where we're at these days, unfortunately, with the conflict going on there. But they didn't segregate them on the same floors. They would have, and everyone had COVID, so they didn't really care. They were just allowed to roam about the hotels. And they actually did a study there where they introduced sport and games like board games. They kind of forced interactions between everybody and tried to get them to actually interact. Obviously, when it started out, the people from Israel were staying to themselves. The Palestinians were staying to themselves. There was almost no intermingling at all. They forced them to do that on basically over games and over sport. And by the end of it, they took a poll at the beginning and they took a poll at the end. And this wasn't done with like 50 people. This was done with like a couple hundred people across these different hotels. And what they found was by the end of it, all of the people that were there were intermingling almost perfectly. There wasn't any Israelites over here and the Palestinians over here. Everybody was amongst themselves. They were talking regularly. They were talking about anything and everything. They had become friends. They had become one. Once that, they followed up a year later with that same people with the same people that they had taken the initial interview with, the interview when they left the hotel when they were COVID free, and then they followed up a year later. And what they found was by the end of that trip in the hotel, everybody was commingling. Everybody was quote unquote friends. In a lot of sense, they had worked out their differences. They talked about a lot of different discussions while they were there. A year later, like less than 1% of them were still interacting with the same people of the opposite side that they were during that hotel retreat. But there was like 40% were still interacting with the people of your side. So the Palestinians were still interacting with the people they met from the Palestine side, and likewise for the Israeli side. So what they found was, as long as you're constantly intermingling over something that's fun, whether it's board games, whether it's charades, whether it's sporting events, people, once you got brought together over a common thing that you liked, everybody loved each other. Once you separated and went back to your tribal areas, everyone was like instantly right at each other's throats again. If there's one thing that all of this sporting can do, bringing people in, maybe you mix cultures together a little bit and people start saying, all right, well, maybe we don't have to be as different, or maybe that's a really good idea. Maybe we should include women in society because they could be huge contributors to the GDP of a country. Maybe through all of this sporting and they're kind of forcing their way into it, maybe that opens them up to more Western ideas. It's happened. Yeah. It's happened in a lot of different studies across time. Hopefully, through all of this, they're not just doing it to cover up the crimes they're going to commit in the future. Hopefully, it opens them up to actual intermingling of cultures, and it turns out to be a good thing. That's my true thoughts on the idea, not the playing devil's advocate stuff. I'm hoping that this leads to that, and because once the Saudi Arabia comes, I mean, it's kind of the bridge into the Middle East, right? Yeah. Just a thought. Hoping.
Yep. Here's hoping.
Jim?
That would be ideal, I guess. But again, like I said before, it's a pool tournament. It's getting played in Saudi Arabia, and I'm a pool fan, and I try and stay away from the whole political stuff about it, and I'm just taking it what it is, and it's a pool tournament that somebody's going to get paid a shitload of money for winning. And
somebody's going to get paid a fuck ton of money for winning the pool tournament, which is bananas. Did anybody actually, will this be the highest prize
since the IPT.
I was just about to ask, but did anybody actually get cashed for the full amount? So Ephraim won 500, but did he get the full lot?
Not sure, but it's the highest prize fund for a tournament since 2000 and either 3 or 6.
3? Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was 3, but maybe it wasn't. But it's a shit ton of money. The deal is for 10 years. Given inflation and all that sort of stuff, will it be?
Oh, I very much doubt it will be $1 million. It will still be $1 million on edition number 10. I very much doubt that.
There's no reason that Matchroom couldn't add more money, right? Or they could get more outside sponsors. I'm sure in the contract it doesn't say that this is Saudi Arabia money and only.
There'll be no outside sponsor. That's how that. So for the boxing and the other things, it's Riyadh Seasonal sponsoring it. There's nothing else. There's nothing else involved. There's no Coca-Cola signs. There's no anything. It's Saudi Arabia.
So you're telling me that when I watch this stream for the World Pool Championships, I'm not going to see a Razin sticker somewhere?
No. So Diamond gives some pool tables. Aramith gives some bowls. You're talking about a title sponsor who's going to put in money, right? Significant amount of money.
Put it this way: you're not going to see BMW or Kia or anything like that.
There's going to be no title. The
sponsors that are not from Saudi Arabia will be like the Q-Tech Diamond or Rasen, I assume Diamond, all those guys, Aramith, Simonis.
No corporate sponsor.
Obviously, yes, I understand that that's the case, but you can't tell me that in 10 different years, or in 10 years from now, or let's just say 7 years from now, that if the industry grows the way that we are hoping and expecting it to, that Q-Tech can't go to them and say, hey, I want to add another $200,000 to this event, and that's what it costs to get to where they're at, right? I mean, if the industry grows the way we're thinking, it's
not going to be all of it. It's not going to be all of a sudden that Rolex is a title sponsor of the or something.
Sure, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the sponsors that already exist. You know good and damn well that if you're at a NASCAR event and you see this giant, DuPont sticker on the side of Jeff Gordon's car, that all of those little ones aren't giving him a steering wheel and a center console and a glove compartment, right? They're giving him stone cold fucking cash. It's just less than what the big ones are.
But this scenario with Saudi, if you've watched any of the boxing or any of the stuff that's been going on there, there's no outside money being pumped in. It doesn't need to be. If Q-Tech came along and said, we're going to put 200 grand in, Saudi are putting $1 million in, I don't think Saudi would have that. They'd say, piss off, Q-Tech. Matchroom, if you really want another 200 grand, there it is. They wouldn't.
Yes, but you guys are looking at the event as a whole, right?
What are you looking at, though?
I'm looking at commercials along the way. I'm looking at having a logo on a pool table. I'm looking at having a backdrop that says
I'm looking at £1 million prize fund. Are you talking about adding to the prize fund?
I'm looking at getting money into the event.
The prize fund.
Yeah, if you're watching a Liverpool game, obviously they have one title sponsor for their team. That doesn't mean you're not going to see a bunch of sponsors all the way across during.
They're not playing in Saudi Arabia.
Yes, but it doesn't mean but you're still creating a product, right? On the Live Golf Tour, if it's going to be there, it doesn't mean that you're never going to see another company's logo somewhere. Because anytime that you have an event that's going to be nationally televised, you're going to have opportunity for commercials, for logos across the arena, for anywhere on the TV.
Okay, so if we go back to the big boxing events they've just had, the commercials are Saudi tourism. It's all for Riyadh season. That's what it's called, Riyadh season. It's 6 months long. That's where they're trying to cram all of their sport and events into. There's no outside, and we're talking about major sports here, not pool. We're talking about big sport. There is no outside commercials pumped in for anything.
When we're going to be watching this on Sky Sports, wait and see what the adverts are at the break.
Yeah,
the Saudis will have control. I'll be very interested to see, because the Saudis will have control over what adverts are run during the advertising breaks with Sky Sports. I guarantee
quite possibly, but during the programming,
because they will just have paid Sky Sports a shitload of money to decide what the adverts will be during the breaks.
And if I'm wrong on that, I'm happy to be wrong on that. I'm not looking at the event as a poster. I'm looking at the event as a production. And anytime you have a production, you're going to have a lot of opportunity to bring outside money. And Matchroom is not going to be making solely all of their money off of the idea of running this event. They're going to make money through the production of it too, right?
Well, that's how they
anytime
make
you have
money.
the-
All that money will come from Saudi. It won't come from anywhere else. They have this 1 million from them is basically me going into my pocket and saying, "Here you go. There's a change I have in my pocket." This is not money for. This is no money at all for Saudi Arabia.
Sure, of course.
This is nothing for them. So if they turn around, if somebody else turns around, like Chris said, and says, "We want to get in sponsors," say, "They'll piss off. If you need another 200, here's another 200. If you need another 300, here's another 300." Well,
They won't share the limelight with anybody.
They're not exactly. That's exactly what I want to say. They are not going to share this with anybody.
Sure. And if that's the case, I'm happy to be wrong on it.
They don't share any of their sports, any of the stuff they put money in. They don't share with anybody. They said, "No, it's ours." You want
It'll
our
be
money?
interesting to see what the arena looks like. You know, the arena that they use at every tournament. And it's got all the interchangeable panels for all of the different things. It'll be interesting to see what that looks like. I mean, QTech is still going to be one of the big sponsors, but other than that, I wonder what it'll look like. But
then I want to know how much money I want to know how much money's Matchroom's making in the background to justify all of this.
Well,
because you're basically taking your biggest event of the year. And you're basically putting it on hold for 10
1
years.
million is pocket change. So,
and this is an afterthought to the overall Matchroom deal with boxing, darts, snooker. Pool is the afterthought. They've just fair play to Emily and Eddie and Barry Hearn. They've managed to hitch this wagon onto the back of the train that was flying through, and we're lucky. We're so lucky.
Yes, just
they've already. As far as Matchroom making money out of Saudi, they're already making more than they can deal with their big sports. Pool,
sure, of course.
It's just a little extra for them. It's just a case of.
Sure.
Would you mind if we did pool as well? Since we've got this big contract with you, how much do you need?
Or have this. Have it. Take
it. Well, that's the payouts, right? I mean, honestly.
Right. How much do you want? 2 million. Okay, take it.
Sure.
10 million.
Yeah, you're probably right. But it's good. Whatever it is, it's going to have to be something good that you're taking. Remove the Mosconi Cup because that's a different beast in itself. But you're taking the most marketable event the entire year, and you're basically putting it on hold as far as building relationships and networking with other companies for 10 years. Because you can't do a single thing with this. Your biggest event of the year, like Jim. I mean, if you controlled world soccer, and somebody said you can have all the world soccer, but you can't have the Premier League. You're going to be like, well, what the hell? What do I want world soccer for if I can't have the number one football league in the world, right?
Yeah, it's a bit different, but
it is different because you're talking about a 9-day tournament or something like that, and there's plenty of other things. I mean, the US Open, they've got so many majors now. I mean, the World Championship should be the biggest tournament, but it hasn't been for years.
Yeah,
it hasn't been for years.
Has it ever been? Has it ever been?
But if you ask most of the players, US Open or World Championships, up until recently, I think every single player was saying, I'd rather win a US Open.
Yeah, it had when Matchroom had the World Championships. Do you remember very late 90s and early 2000s when it was in Cardiff and somewhere else? But it was good. Then it was in the where did Wu Cha Ching when it was in Taipei, and I think it was in the Philippines once. But Sky Sports had it around about that time, and it was massive. It was such a good tournament, and then it's been dog shit for like 2 decades.
Yeah.
So
I mean, at the end of the day, there's plenty to go around, and what has now happened is they've got their number one major. I think we can probably call it a number one major now because it's got a $1 million prize fund. They've set the bar now, So if anyone out there wants the US Open to be just as big as the World Championships or continue to be bigger, you best come up with $1 million and stick that in the prize fund.
Everything else just pales into insignificance now. Really,
so the idea of this is that everything gets pulled up behind it.
Well, this is kind of my point, though.
This is just the start of it growing, and I mean, I don't see that it being in Saudi Arabia has sort of cut it off from the rest of. It's going to be a massive event. It's going to be huge. People on social media saying there's going to be no crowds there. There'll be crowds there. Trust me.
Yeah, there will be.
There'll be proper massive crowds there.
Saudi's a big country.
A big country, and they love their Q Sports down there. It's not so far for the Philippines to travel over, and there's a big Filipino expat community close by. I've heard kind of thing, and
Dubai and Qatar,
it's going to be there's going to be a lot of people there, and what we do know from the Saudis is that if they don't feel there's enough people there, they pay people to come in and make an atmosphere,
which is fine.
Who cares?
It actually is. Quite a huge country. It's
massive.
Yeah, it's I mean, I'm looking at a map of it versus the USA, and it actually, I mean, it covers up all of North Dakota, South Dakota, all the way down to Oklahoma, and then all the way over basically to West Virginia.
It's a massive.
It's basically as big as the Upper Midwest.
Okay, it's a massive country, but I mean, quite a large area of it is unpopulated.
Yeah. But population-wise,
all the people are crammed into the same places, but
it's sparsely populated, right?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to. So they've got 36 million people there as of 3 years ago. So that's plenty of people to come and watch.
And Q Sport lives there. It's not like it's a nothing sport.
They're trying to grow it, They're trying to grow it for a long, long time. I don't know why they haven't had much traction. So they've got Khalid, the kid, and then what's your man's name with a beard?
He's from Qatar.
No, he's from Kuwait.
Yeah, Kuwait. Thank you. I knew it wasn't. I knew it wasn't Qatar. He's from Kuwait.
There's Omar Al Shaheen, there's Bader Al Dawadi, and then there's Bader Al Dawadi, Omar Al Shaheen, and
Abdullah.
Abdullah Yusuf.
Abdullah's from Kuwait.
Yeah, all three of those are from Kuwait. Yeah. Sophie is from.
I think the only Saudi Arabia is the kid Khalid, or whatever his name is.
So we're just talking about. So it's just Khalid, yeah. So he's the only kid.
Yeah, all three of those players are all from Kuwait.
Somebody told me that Khalid kid, was it Khalid? I think it was, won a tournament in Saudi, and it was like stupid money. It was only for Saudi players.
He won $500,000.
Yeah, it was $500,000. Yeah,
$500,000
for like a youth tournament.
US dollars.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's Saudi money. Only Saudi players, I think, were allowed in that.
And so, consider that he's won a first prize of $500,000. For a local tournament, basically only Saudi players, and now they've given a $1 million prize purse for this. Like I said, it's nothing to them. It's pocket change. They don't care. It's peanuts to them. It's like going into their pocket and just saying, "There you go, Matchroom. There's your prize money." They don't give a shit. I think, to be honest, I think Matchroom could have done better and probably got $3 million.
Well, you don't know what they made behind the scenes. Well, to be honest, like let's look. So let's say that the deal. I mean, let's say the deal was worth X dollars. Does it really do them a lot of good to make the Whirlpool champ? Let's say they got $10 million off it. Does it really do them any good to make one of their events $300 or let's say $3 million prize purse? No, because that basically means
it makes the rest of the tour events look stupid.
Especially all these events in like the US that people are going and playing for like $6,000 at most for first place. Most of them are like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. All of those events become completely worthless. The only thing that's going to decide the Moscone Cup, the Whirlpool Masters, the Whirlpool Championships, or the World Cup of Pool, all of these things are going to be literally who makes the top 16. That just guarantees you to get into every event from the rest of the year, because you'd have to win the US Open to basically make last 64 money in this event.
Of course, it would make a mockery of the ranking system.
It was. So maybe their deal is worth $10 million, and as they grow this, maybe we're just throwing out numbers here, but maybe their event, they are getting way more, and maybe they actually have the ability to take some of that money and put it into their other events, right?
That would be great, because even now, if we go on 200,000, the winner of the World Championship, if it's a European or an American, is guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
I personally don't believe that you should qualify for the Moscone on one tournament. I don't believe that should ever happen.
Well, that's why
I think if you're the world champion,
but pool is pool, and it's 9-ball pool.
Yeah,
it's not like every tournament is equally as difficult to win. But then it becomes time, and you were lucky that it was your turn when the big money was there.
Well, in theory, this should be the hardest tournament to win. Now, I think the hardest tournament to win should be the Masters, but they haven't quite dialed down, I don't believe yet, that the format.
Well, they're never gonna be, as long as that stays a race of 7 into a race of 9 on those equipments, those type pockets.
Yeah.
That event's. I'm not trying to say this in a stupid way. It's going to sound stupid. That event's not hard to win. You need to catch a small gear. You need to have some good rolls, and you need to win 3-4 matches.
It's changed now because I mean they're trying to solidify the quality of the field, right, and make the races a little bit.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good the field is. It's only a race of 7.
It's never going to be the most difficult event to win.
It should be, but it won't be.
But they can never make it the most difficult because they will have 24, a maximum of 32 players. Now, there's too many good players, and 9-ball is too weird a game, and too much things can happen in 9-ball.
Unless you're going to increase the race
by removing 50 players who can win the tournament, you're making it an easier tournament.
No, I'm with you. All I'm saying is my belief is the Masters should be the hardest to win. It should be long races in the top 16. That would make it the hardest to win.
To be honest, right now, it's probably the easiest win of all the majors.
So,
I think it's the easiest by far.
I think the 128, if you get the top 128 players,
it'll be the hardest.
Yes, that's a tough tournament to win. But 256 is tough to win as well because there's a lot of players who are coming in that don't have a ranking.
Yeah, but also
will be in that second half. You know, you get like a Bernie Regliario and Raga who comes up now and again, and
you never get the top 128 turning up to any open event anyway. So
no, I mean,
it should be.
For me, the idea that you can just you can play great for 1 week of the year and that gets you into the Mosconi Cup, I don't like that personally.
I'm completely with you, but it's an unfortunate and a fortunate symptom.
Yes, I wouldn't listen. Please do not use that as a reason to go back to 50,000 plus prize. But I would like to see that the other events, or that there's more events that get closer to that kind of prize money, which means that you're not guaranteed just by being world champion.
I think it would be a little bit. I'm definitely with you. I think it would be a little more unpalatable if you had a situation like we did in the Worlds over the last few years, where a relative unknown, or certainly somebody who's nowhere near tournament favorite, makes it through to the semis, and semis will be enough to get you into Mosconi.
Exactly.
I would say it's pretty much you're looking good, right? If you can hit the semis, you're looking good.
Yes, that's it. So basically one tournament, you could end up you could theoretically almost fill your Mosconi Cup top 3 if in that one tournament. You know, if you're saying 200,000 for first, 140,000 for second, and semi-final gets you 100,000. If those 3 are all Europeans, let's say 4 Europeans in the semi-final.
Yeah,
basically your Mosconi Cup team has been picked in 9 days.
It's done, but it'll need maybe a few crap Europeans like myself will get through to the semis, and then the USA might have a chance of winning Mosconi for once. But other than that, there's no real. What do you reckon, Nate?
They'd have to be worse than you to have a chance.
Oh, Chris is no longer going to be on the podcast going forward. But no, I mean, this is why I think that there's no freaking way that Matchroom is selling out for $1 million prize fund, right? I'm hoping, and I think Emily is just way too smart for this to have this not be the case. Of you just can't have one event that pays 1 million and the rest of them all pay 300,000. You can't do that because, like you said, it's just going to make. I would like to think that Matchroom is making this a $1 million event because they wanted the splash of having a $1 million event. What's the difference between 1 million and what's the difference between 2 million? I'm hoping that this money is going to the rest of the events to make it exactly avoid what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Emily's just popped up, and rightly so. Guaranteed Mosconi. Imagine the pressure playing in the Worlds with that prize fund on the table. What a world champion it will produce.
Not for the faint of heart.
Maybe it is going to be 1 million, one tournament, and the rest stay the same.
Maybe.
I didn't even realize Emily watched this podcast.
She must have clicked on it by accident.
She's got a mistake.
It's the worst Valentine's Day ever, looking at us 3.
Hey,
right here. I'll help out that Valentine's Day. So now she only has to look at 2 of us.
There you go. But okay, maybe Emily will.
Hey, welcome back, buddy.
Misclick. There you go. It was clickbait. But
I'm hoping that that's not the case.
Whether or not there's more money going in, or whether or not this pushes for more money to go into the other events. I mean, I can only see it. You guys are never. You haven't listened to the whole podcast, obviously, Emily. We're very happy. We're happy. We're happy pool people.
There are still people out there moaning.
I just wish I'd practiced when I was younger now.
The one thing I'm a bit worried about is and we haven't talked about this yet, but there was a matchroom ranking event in Colombia this past weekend. Obviously, going smart. So Moritz Neuhausen wins that. What did he get for that? It's like 5,000, 9,000.
9K.
So let's say the semifinalists are probably making about 3.
Two and a half, mate.
Yeah, maybe.
You know what? It was so hard to find information on it.
Yeah, it was very, very, very poorly marketed.
Well, this tournament happened in Colombia. I gave up.
Yeah.
I gave up on it. I mean, I went onto the website just to try and see the bracket. I couldn't find anything. It was all in a funny language. It was all I couldn't.
I'm very much hoping that this event is not going to. Events like this are not going to be completely ignored going forward, because you have to win the event to basically make final 74, whatever it is in the World Pool Championships. You win 2 matches the World Pool Championship, you'll probably win more than if you got second in the event. Do you really want to go all the way to Colombia to do something like that? Do you really want to go to Vietnam for an event like that, or the Philippines?
Well, I mean,
wherever these things spur up across the time.
What Emily is, where I see this in a few years is there will be no events on the Matchroom calendar that are not Matchroom run events.
Oh, hopefully.
There won't be any more of these events. If it's going to be a ranking point, then it'll be a Matchroom. Matchroom will do it properly. We already see those more majors coming up.
I don't want to see all the rest of these events go away. So hopefully they are still included in some sort of way in Matchroom, whether they are now turned into U.S. Open qualifiers or World Pool Championship qualifiers. Something that if you win this event, you get an entry into this other event, because these events have got to still be there. They have to be a gateway to get into professional pool. You have to have some sort of runway to get these players into these big events. You have to be able to make some money along the way, and these events could do that. Maybe they're not part of the World 9-ball tour anymore. Maybe they're part of the World 9-ball farm system.
Or something,
maybe they're part of the Q school that gets you into these events, a paid entry and maybe a paid paid travel fees or whatever it is. But these events can't go away. They just they have to be around still. You have to be able to work your way into a pro tour. You have to be able to take your lumps along the way and learn how to win and learn how to lose and all that good stuff.
The positive side of that event in Colombia, apart from the way the table was clothed and the bowls and everything else that was going on, apart from and the cheating. Did you see the
Emily,
fucking cheating?
Emily, if you're still here, the cheating part. We'll talk about that. Emily, if you're still here, what do you think about the ball set? What'd you think about those?
Yeah, I can't. Did you approve that ball? All those ball colors.
The 5 was orange again, right?
The 5 went back to
yes,
orange.
The 5 was orange again.
Orange.
And the black wasn't black; it was white with a black stripe. The 9 was the Bumblebee 9, but the other way around. So it was black with a yellow stripe. No, sorry, yellow with a black stripe instead of black with a yellow stripe. And the rails were a different color from the bed in the table. And apparently you're allowed to hit the 2 ball before the 1 ball as long as you don't say anything.
That was just ridiculous, wasn't it? It's just, do you know the good thing about it now? Because pool, these events are streamed and everything's getting streamed now. You can't get away with that shit anymore. Everybody's going to see it. Everybody's going to see, if you try and pull moves.
Well, let's just
a lot of these tournaments.
Hold on, Jim.
Before have like 30 tables.
Let me take over, Jim, because I want to actually. We're talking about the situation, but we haven't actually said what happened. So you can have your comment, but let's. So the player's name. Did you remember the player's name? I've actually never seen the guy before. I've never seen his name before.
Must be a good player, but yeah.
Cheater
McCheaterson. He's shooting at the 1 ball, And on the way, he flicks was it the 4-ball or the 2-ball?
The 2-ball. He's trying to pot the 1-ball, and he flicks the 2-ball.
He's trying to pot the 1-ball, and he flicks off the edge of the 2-ball. The 2-ball moves maybe a millimeter. Almost. No. It wasn't much.
It rolled half a ball.
Was it that much? I mean, it was okay. It wasn't a half a ball worth. It was somewhere in between 1 millimeter and a half a ball's worth. It was not much. It was a very, very gentle touch. It was a very gentle cut off.
The camera was like 6 meters away from the table, and you could clearly see it.
You can. Well, you can. Well, if you slow down, remember that Eklund Kachi foul or whatever it was that.
I thought we'd move past that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could see that thing rock when you're that far away too. So, basically, the player continues to be. He plays an incredible shot, an incredible safety, gets away with it because nobody saw the ball move. The ref didn't see it. The player didn't see it, and he didn't say anything. So I guess the question becomes. Do you have some sort of expectation to call a foul on yourself if nobody else is going to call it on?
Professional tournament, 100%. You're playing a professional tournament. It's your responsibility. In fact, if you were one of the 128 players, I think it's pretty much spelled out in our players' contract about how you need to conduct yourself. It'll be interesting to see if any of the 128 try and pull a move this year or try and get away with something and see how that pans out for them, especially with all the streaming and stuff. But it was just a shit thing to do.
I would like to see official warnings being given out.
It's in a semi-final as well. Thank God he didn't go on to win that semi-final.
The problem with the situation like that is you cannot prove 100% that the player was aware that he fouled.
You can't. But he was trying to pot it.
But what you can do is you can turn around as organisers or as Matchroom or whoever the governing body is turn around and say, I fully understand that I can't prove that you knew it. You say that you didn't know, but what I'm now giving you is a yellow card, an official warning. And if it happens again, then you will be subsequently you'll be expelled from the tournament.
Well, then what do you do? Like if he legitly didn't see it the first time and he legitly didn't see it, well, and he legitly didn't see it the second time, or
Tough
if
shit.
he did,
It's his responsibility. It's his responsibility to see it.
It's how. Okay, so there you're wrong. There I think you're wrong.
It's not your responsibility.
Put it this way: your opponent has been
Jim,
punished.
let me answer this question quick, because it's not your responsibility to see everything perfectly. That's the point of having a referee. If I'm shooting a shot and look, I mean, we just had Scott Frost on this morning, and we talked about his foul with Hunter.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Is it his responsibility to know that his shirt? I mean, if Hunter's going to call him for it. Is it his responsibility to know 100% whether or not his shirt touched that ball?
Yes.
Hell no.
He is responsible for everything that happens at the table while he's there, and there are no grey areas.
No, absolutely not. You cannot be held responsible.
But that's a different situation because your eyes are not pointing at the foul being made.
All I'm saying is that there's a real chance that a foul could occur, and you didn't know it. It's very possible.
Let's not use the theoretical. Let's use this particular instance where he's shooting at the 1-ball,
100%. We're all on the same, and we could tell that he knew it. But
he absolutely knew it.
But let's say that his reaction was such that it was not obvious that he saw it move.
That's exactly what he did. It was his reaction.
No, I know. We are 100% on the same page on this one. I agree with you guys 1,000,000%. What I'm saying is where I'm drawing the line is you cannot be held responsible for every single possible thing that happens at the table while you're there.
You guys have rules in America which I think are absolutely bananas. You don't even play all ball fouls. The first time I heard that phrase, I couldn't believe somebody had to explain it to me. Shannon Murphy had to explain it to me, and I could not believe what he's telling me. I had to go and ask somebody else.
I'm not arguing with what you're saying, but that's not what we're talking about here.
But in every other country in the world, every foul is an absolute foul, regardless.
And I think that that's the way it should be at the professional level, not at the amateur level, because it's just a different level of. But I agree with you at the professional level. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about there's a real situation where you could foul and not realize that you fouled. You cannot be held responsible. Now, if a ref is watching and calls a foul on you, fine, no problem at all.
Okay, how about this? You have a situation like this has just happened, and we're all talking about it retrospectively. We've seen it on the film. Now we play the game. Yeah, we know we know when a player knows he's fouled. You know yourself. There's situations where you just know. You know that the player knows.
Cheating.
So you then have a board. You then have a board within the organization that will look back at these things. Now, if I'm looking back at the Scott Frost one, I'm going to say, well, it's his responsibility, but there's no way that he can know that he's fouling. You know, he's tucked his shirt and he's gone over, and his opponent said, "Now, I'm not going to give him a yellow card on this one because I can't actually see from the camera angle if there's a foul." And Hunter is saying this, the referee, so we're just leaving that as it is. They've sorted it out themselves. This situation in Colombia, he's played to hit the left-hand side of the one, and he's hit the right-hand side of it and got a lucky snooker. He stood up looking a bit surprised. The 2-ball is clearly moved. We all see it. For me, you have to know as a player that you fouled there.
I'm 100% on board with that.
Official warning, you haven't declared a foul on yourself. I don't care if the referee hasn't seen it or whatever, because the referee can also not see it. She's looking at the 2-ball. She's looking at the 1-ball, not the 2, or whatever. She's too far away. She's not experienced. I don't know, whatever. But you know if you've played the game before and you have a group of 3 or 4 players who then go in and look at these videos, they know that this person knows.
I'm with you. But that's not what I'm talking about. We all 3 of us are 100% on the same page on that. I mean, I could play devil's advocate and argue against that, and maybe I will in a second, but that's not what I'm talking about right here. What I'm talking about is Chris's statement that anything that happens at the table is your responsibility, and you have to be held responsible for everything that you do. And I think that's just completely wrong.
That's fair enough.
Assuming that you are not actively trying to hide what you did. If you had no idea that you fouled, like Scott Frost said, or let's put it this way. Remember when we were talking about the one earlier where again, I think it was Kachi or something like that. It was Sanjin or Alexa or whatever it was. They cut that ball, and then that ball rocked into that divot. The player had no freaking idea that was a foul, right? He had no idea. Mm-hmm. The referee called it, and we all think that he got that call wrong. We've talked about it in the past. Yeah. But why should the player be held responsible if there's not a ref on the table? And let's say his opponent sees that ball rock, and it took how many times before any of us even saw it? I had to watch it like 7 times before I actually saw the ball move. And your opponent calls that a foul, and you said, no, that ball never moved. What Chris is saying is that's your responsibility as a player to see that rock, see that move. He's not looking at that ball. He doesn't think that ball's going to move at all. He's got to clearly look at the edge of that ball.
Whose responsibility is it then?
That's my point. Is there has to be a gray area where like there's nothing that you can do.
Okay,
that's where you have to have a ref that's on top of things, and that's why professional pool the future is refs.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
And then once we get to the consensus that it's the ref's job and it's their job, then if I want to play devil's advocate on this, it's the ref's job then to call that foul, not the players.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't believe that. I'm not saying I believe that. Well, what I'm saying is if you know that you could cheat and get away with something and you're going to net an extra $4,000 in your pocket, why is it your job to call a referee on yourself when it's a professional event? There should be professional ref, and assuming there is a referee on site, why is it your job to do the ref's job? I mean, at the NFL, like we just played the Super Bowl. If a defender commits pass interference and the ref doesn't throw a flag, it's not that player's job to say, well, I held him. You need to throw the flag. Here, let me grab that flag and throw it. It's not his job to do it. Why is it different? They're both professional sports. What's the difference?
There's a referee. Cameras everywhere in NFL, isn't there? People try and cheat.
Pool too. That's why we can see these things.
People try and cheat in the Premier League every single
day. That tournament had one stream table. There was 30 tables in the background where these games are getting played as well, and nobody sees these things.
Yeah,
everybody saw it in the moment. That's why it's all over Facebook.
Because it was streamed, but there's another 30 tables that don't have a stream. Yeah. What happens when it happens there?
This is my point. I mean, there's nothing that you can do about it. The football game is streamed too, and everybody sees that there was a no call. That doesn't change the fact that you can't do anything about it in hindsight. No, I mean, you can sit on a podcast and bitch about it, but I mean, it doesn't actually do anything in the moment.
That's why it's more important for players to be honest.
Yep.
Sure, but that says the same thing to the defensive back who just committed blatant pass interference and got away with it. I mean, there was a Saints and Rams game in the playoffs 2 years ago where the Saints player was obviously, pass interference, and it cost them that game.
In a lot of these sports, you're coached to do these things tactically. You're coached to cheat. In football, they're coached to cheat.
Okay, that's a real argument. I mean, well,
they're coached
not coached
to cheat and
you're,
get
you're
away
coached,
with it.
You're not coached to cheat. You're coached to get as close to the line as possible without
Exactly.
committing. Yes, I mean that's a real argument that I can't. That's a real argument. I'm not.
And
but,
they're dynamic sports. The pool's quite a static sport. Every time you go to the table, everything is stationary.
But golf is. I mean, you could use golf at that point then too, right? I mean, how many times?
Yes,
there's
golf. Yeah.
And to be honest with you, yeah, you're right, because when somebody actively gets caught cheating, they're thrown through the ringer. So maybe you're right there. I mean, I'm happy to be wrong on that one. I just, in a perfect world, we would have a perfect ref that always gets it right. Yep. However, that's not going to be the case. And you hope that when these players like this cheat and get caught, that they lose the set anyways. And this guy did lose a set, so.
Yeah, and he's got a bad rep now. But we've had instances in the past, even when where the referee gets it wrong. We've had that before, haven't we?
But if this guy feels like it's okay to do that on the live stream table in a semi-final, who's to say he hasn't done this all through the tournament? And the only reason he's in the semi-final is because he's been doing that kind of shit.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, the reason we talk so deeply on these things is because it happens so infrequently that I think the player who's got away with it happens. Well, I think the player who's gotten away with cheating more often than anyone else in the world is Eklund Kachi, and he still has a great reputation in the industry.
Ooh, what a statement to make!
He's been caught cheating like 4 different times. We talk about it all the time.
I can remember the one where his hand touched the ball.
Yeah, that was I think that was in the one pool.
Finger, yeah.
Yeah, so he had the finger twitch, and then he also had the one in the one pool sports where his hand brushed over top of a 5-ball too, and he never called it. And his hand goes like this. I mean, he's shooting like this, and then he brushes it, and he kind of goes like this with his hand. He makes the ball and keeps shooting. He kind of looks down at his hand right away, but you can see his hand kind of go like this when he hits the ball. That was all ball fouls. I mean,
that's why it has to be black and white, because there are cultural differences between what people think is cheating or how cheating's viewed in different countries. There really are. It's the same in every sport. I mean, Jim and I see it in football all the freaking time, the difference. But yeah, it's not nice to see. I'm never glad that anybody loses, but I'm definitely glad that fella lost. Yeah, he's no good. Elliot got the semi-final. It was good for him. That's good results. He went up a few places, and Moritz got the win. Who do we think is going to be our next Mosconi Cup rookie? I think it might be Moritz. I think he might. Do you not think so?
Well, it's down to. I think it's between 3 players personally. Well,
I think.
Remember Mario. He's a rookie, right?
Mario's cursed. I'm going to say it now. I don't think Mario's ever going to get in. I think he's cursed.
I think
something weird's going to happen to him every time.
Watch him snap off the World Championships now.
I hope I've jinxed it and he does win it.
I have a sneaky. I would go with somebody like Alexis Pichelj. I think he's going to have a big season. Do
you not think Moritz is winning already, though? Is what I'd say. He's winning.
But he's winning a lot of small events. Like
no, he won a lot of Jason's place.
It's very dependent on what you win. I mean, he's
that's
just
still kind of a small event
with a stellar field, though. Apart from me and a couple of.
I mean, it was stellar, right, but it was only 64
players. Difference, of winning those big events, and he's just won that event there, and he went up 1 spot on the ranking.
I know it was small. It was small prize fund, but let's look at what Al Qaeda's done. Look at what he did last year. Snaps off a small one. Goes out of his way to go to a small tournament, snaps it off, boom, goes and then snaps off a big one. I think Moritz has got a big win in him.
I do. Spanish.
Did he
win one, or did he lose the finals? I thought he lost the finals, or did he win one too?
David, he won the Europeans. He won the Scottish, then he won the European.
He won the Scottish, and then he won the European Open.
Okay. In within a couple of weeks.
I was thinking he got second. Did he get second in the Spanish?
Scottish, and then UK maybe. Scottish and then UK Open.
No, Bijsterbosch was second in the Spanish.
Oh yeah. Bijsterbosch lost to Dang. Yeah.
But yeah,
you're right.
He's an unbelievable talent. Germany are massive favourites for the World Cup. I think.
I was going to say, I think he wins the World Cup pool again.
I think they win the World Cup. It's between them, and the next best team was Taiwan, but there'll obviously be a few other good. Philippines will be back there to defend it, but I just think Filler is playing better than he's ever played, and Moritz is going to be the best partner he's ever had.
I mean, I know that like I kind of shat on the Whirlpool Masters, but if there's one thing that's even more gimmicky than the Masters, it's the World Cup of pool. I mean,
Do you not like
a
it?
race to it's just race to 7 winner breaks.
I think it's a fantastic event. I think it's
no. I'm not saying I don't like it. I love the event. It's fantastic. It's an amazing. It's one of my favorite events of the year. I'm just saying, don't give me that like the best player or the best team is going to win this every single year because it's a race to 7 winner break.
Well, no, the best team. The best team hasn't won it every single year. There's been some funny years, but I just think it's hard to argue.
What's been a funny year? Who won
Germany winning it with Filler and Renchies was a funny one because remember Renchies
the best player in the world winning it with a guy who's a decent player.
Well, yeah, I know, but they're playing against.
That's a funny. Yes, that's a funny year.
I would say it was a funny one. I mean, a couple of flukes as well as the reason why they won.
I'd say it was a funny. I'd say that it was a funny year because Boys and Appleton got to the final. I wouldn't say it was a funny year because
take it in. Well, okay, well there you go, and it was a COVID year, but take it in. Take it in.
But Christoph might be. But going back to that, he might be like, you remove some of those like kind of funny Middle Eastern or like those the South American teams, and Christoph may have been the worst player in that tournament. So yes, even if you have the best player in the tournament,
West is not the right word. I mean,
you're talking about the most players,
he's a good player. West is not the right word, but I know what you mean.
Let me put it this way: his Fargo would get him into Team USA Mosconi Cup.
So he has above a 720?
He's not that bad a player. He's over 760, 70.
Sure. Okay.
So he's not a bad player. Sufi got to the final of the World Championships. And I think his Fargo was probably below Christoph Rench's.
Oh, wow.
When he got there.
Oh, when he got there, yeah. But yeah, I can't even remember what we were talking about. How did we get there? Moritz. That's how we got there.
Moritz he's a contender. Sanjin's a contender. But there's so many young players coming through from Europe. There's quite a few contenders for who.
There's loads coming through, but it's the step from coming through to then winning. And I think Moritz, he's proven he can win now. I know that wasn't the best event, but I think the one in Connecticut was a good event.
Yes.
I think he can.
That was a good win.
Yeah, that was a good win, breakthrough win.
To be honest, I'd have no problem with having him in the team. He seems like a really nice kid. I think he would work well in a team. He'll listen.
Everybody loves him.
But everybody gets on with him. He seems like he doesn't seem like he's going to cause any sort of controversy within the team. He'll respect the leaders within the team. Yeah. I'd have no problem with having him in the team, to be honest. But also Alexa as well. I wouldn't have any problem having him in the team. Yeah.
Yeah, we all want to see Mario. We all want to see Mario. I think
you don't want him to be that guy who you refer to as the best player never to play Mosconi Cup, and he probably is the best player never at this moment in time. The best player never to have played Mosconi Cup
by far. I think. I don't think there's. I can't even think of another candidate that's close to him.
No.
But at the same time,
I'll tell you what. There's players a hell of a lot worse than him who have played Mosconi Cup.
Well, I'll tell you that he's also probably the best player to never win a major either.
He'd be in the conversation, yeah.
Because who? I mean, if you look at the players, I mean, I don't know what you want to use for ranking systems. I guess Fargo's probably the easiest. I mean, if he's like around an 815 to an 817 would be my guess.
Yeah, he's sick. Yeah. You don't mean matchroom major. You just mean a big tournament, right? A massive tournament.
A tournament worth talking about.
A world or a US.
Yeah.
Or any of the matchroom opens.
He's at 812. Some of the players around him. Johan Chua, Max Lechner. I guess Max has maybe Max is in. But I think Jason's had a longer.
Jason's in the chat. All right, Jay.
I mean, Mario's had a longer at the top career, I guess, than Max. But maybe Max Lechner's another person, unfortunately, that's in this. Lee Van Corteza, Alex Pegulayan, David Al-Qaidi, James Aranis, Sanjin Pelovanovic, Sky Woodward, a trillion Filipinos.
Yeah, he's got to be the best. He's got to be the best person to never win a major or
certainly that's been around the longest.
Huh?
Certainly that's been around the longest.
Do you know?
Jason, no, I didn't get in. No.
It's not a fun conversation to have because everybody. I think that anybody who's ever met Mario, he loves him. I mean, you want the dude to succeed.
Yeah.
And he's been in every single semifinals since like 2017. Mario, he might as well just like start his tournament at the quarterfinals because he's always there.
It's just
he's an incredible player, but he could be that guy who just needs to win that one and then go on a roll, you know.
Well, it happened to FSR, right? That happened to FSR. That happened to.
I almost get the feeling that he's too nice. Maybe he's just he can't get himself to the point where he hates his opponent enough to actually go out and destroy somebody, kind of thing. He almost is too friendly and too nice doesn't maybe have that real killer instinct. He can go in a flow when he's playing well, but when he's not really great, he doesn't fight and hard and I mean, Jason's on the chat now. I remember Jason saying to me, I think it was at the European Open, I was talking to him in Boise, and he said to me, he says, I need to go start playing pool again and start hating people and really wanted to destroy and hurt people on the table to get back to where I was before. And
I mean, that does seem to be the one thing that Jonathan Miller has over anyone else is he literally looks like he wants to kill you.
He doesn't just want to beat you; he wants to humiliate you. You know, and that's when Jason was at his prime. Maybe he'd tell you himself when Jason was at his prime, he was going onto the table and he was seriously. He wasn't just putting people in their chair; he was drilling them into their chair. You know, and you've got to kind of have that. And maybe Mario's just a little bit too nice. I don't know. I'll just put speculation, but I didn't notice. You know, with Jason after saying that to me and boys at the European Open, I think it was. Then he goes off on a run and starts playing great, and then smashes it at Hanoi Open, smashes it at Moscone. I think you have to have that. You have to be able to, even if you're friends with certain players, you have to be able to hate them for half an hour in order to beat them properly. I guess I don't know.
He can beat everybody, and he has beaten everybody. So I'm not sure. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Do you think at some point he's got to maybe look at changing something? So if you go to one of the tournaments and you look around the room, right? It's like me and Mario are probably the fattest ones there, right? And I'm never winning the tournament. Mario's capable, but
I don't think that Mario's anywhere close to you. I think you're way fatter.
I probably am, but does he have to take a different approach to things? The way the other guys are. People are stepping up the fitness and starting to really look after themselves. And
I mean, if you want to say that like he can't get over the hump because he can't get by the semifinals, I mean it's an argument that you might have a little bit of like.
Tournaments aren't 2 or 3 days long anymore. Tournaments are.
They're not, but
yeah.
It just seems weird that he has plenty of stamina to get to the semifinals of every single tournament ever, but he just doesn't have enough. He just.
What was the last tournament he got to the? What was the last major he got to the semis of? I can't think of one, by the way.
I mean, he may have had a bit of a down year last year as far as that goes, but he was still right up at the top of the money list last year.
Of course, yeah, great player. I'm just.
And he never won any
tournament. Going on about semis, and I'm not sure he's been that close. I can't think of any.
There was a stretch. I'll put
it this way: if Mario Hay had broke that year that he did qualify, but he couldn't play because there was the substance issue. If he had played that year. He's no longer a rookie. He'd have had a couple of wild cards since then.
Yeah,
guaranteed. He's wild. If he's not a rookie, he's wild card in more years than not since that time.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. If he does get in there, it's no longer having to let a rookie on.
Exactly. If he gets in that year and performs, if he gets in that year and he performs well.
Remember, Alex Kazakis got in.
He's played 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, Kazakis got in and he didn't perform, and now he's. I don't want to say he's banned from the team, but he's definitely not getting in unless he qualifies.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So that was a fun. Looking at Darian's comment,
I just read that.
I kind of forgot that we had a discussion last week on.
That was it.
On who
was it?
We pretty much decided the only person that could beat Jason up in a bar fight is Rodney Morris 20 years ago.
No, that's not what I said. No, the question was who could beat up Jason Shaw in a bar fight, and I said I'm not fucking with Mieszko Fortunski. I'm not.
Oh yeah, you went for Mieszko. I said a 40-year-old or 40-year-old or younger Rodney Morris.
What about
Nikos.
Nikos?
Nikos.
Yeah.
Nikos was only that high.
He's not very tall,
Mate,
but
he's hard as nails.
He does have an angry side to him.
He's tough as nails. Nikos, but he's a little guy. I think Jason could probably pick him up.
Well, Jason's not very big either.
Get a good spin on him.
I don't know. I'm not trying to mess with an angry Mieszko. That's my vote.
Fortunski, yeah.
Oh, could you imagine that dude angry running at you?
I don't know why.
Well, I mean,
Why'd you say that?
I can imagine him being angry running at you.
If you're in a bar fight, yeah, right. No,
I can imagine just about anybody getting angry and running at you.
Polish players love me.
Oh, you're on your Polish thing. I see.
Yeah. No, if you're gonna have a bar fight, you're assuming that both people are going to be angry and they're going to be ready to fight, right? So I don't know. You've been around Mieszko enough. He's pretty thick. He's.
Yeah, but if you're in a bar, right, you got to assume that people have been drinking, and the Brits, we can do that better than anybody.
Mieszko drink. Oh, have you ever seen Mieszko drink?
No, that's what I mean.
Okay.
I've seen Jay drink a lot.
No, So I'm not trying to dime anybody out, but I've had a couple nights drinking with Mieszko. He can drink.
Jason doesn't. Jason doesn't drink. He's on he spends all his days taking ice baths and swimming now. I don't think he drinks anymore. He's either in a cold bath or a warm bath.
Yeah, and we had decided that nobody wants to mess with Kachi either, and it's not because of Kachi, it's because the people that follow him around.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. We talked enough shit now. I've got to go for a night shift. Fuck, it's nearly 10 o'clock.
Do you? Yeah, shit.
Yeah. I'm going to go into the night shift and watch the Windows Open podcast. Watch a proper podcast.
I saw you were already watching it. I saw you watching it before, Jim.
Jim's no longer on this podcast going forward. One man should not have this much power. All right, let me go through and thank the people who allowed this podcast to continue going on. This real podcast. So thank you so much to Dave Wiersma, Mo Bashir, Cody Wettig, Ed Ladawi, Matt Poland, the Patreons of the show that keep us moving along. Also, thank you for the sponsors to this podcast. Littman Lights. Michael Littman was in the podcast earlier. Makes the best lights for your pool table. Absolute best. I absolutely love mine. Mine's nice and custom. You can get yours as well. Just reach out to him or myself on Facebook, and we can get you hooked up with one of those. Horo Tips, best jump cue or just best jump tip and break tip out there on the market. Onboard Sportswear. Quality speaks for itself. There's a reason Matchroom is with Onboard Sportswear. Digital Pool, best tournament software out there. Solado, best dating app for pool players out there. Chris could even find a date on that.
Is that what you're calling that now? Yeah.
Maybe not on his island, but
it's that and Grindr.
Yeah, well, that's good for you, Chris. Billiards Digest, the best magazine for 467,000 years and counting. Insight Performance Coaching, take your game to the next level with some mental coaching. And Jacoby Custom Cues, the best cues out there on the market with the made in America funness of it and the family-owned business of it. So check out this ad from Jacoby Custom Cues. Beautiful ad. Love that ad. Okay, and lastly, Magic Mind. We're done with their official sponsorship, but we might be doing a long-term sponsorship. Shut up, Jim. So I got to find the details out about that, but we do love Magic Mind, so we'll give a shout out to them as well. All right, with that, let's close up for the week. Thanks, guys, for joining. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
$1 million.
And all